Hi, and thank you for the opportunity to interview again at your school. I did have a chance to look over that data you sent me about the AZ Merit reading scores, and this is what I was able to pull out of it. Overall, especially in the third, fourth, seventh, and eighth grade, we have 50% or close to 50% of our students scoring proficient or highly proficient, and this is excellent. This is a very positive trend in those grade levels, especially third grade, where it's almost 60% of our students are scoring proficient or higher in on those reading tests, which is excellent. An area of concern, though, is in the fifth and sixth grade. We notice that the scores tend to drop in that area to about 30% passing with proficient or highly proficient. So this does indicate an area where we need to really focus our attention is on that fifth and sixth grade. What would be a little more helpful would be to see the previous year's data to see if this is something that carried over from fourth to fifth grade and then fifth to sixth this year, to see if it's something with the students or perhaps something with the curriculum. It could very well be that our students are performing to the best of their abilities, but the curriculum isn't maybe too rigorous for them, or it's not lining up with what is on these tests. So that is something we need to look into. However, some other areas of success is our proficiency rates based on the race. We could see that our American Indian population, almost 80% are proficient or highly proficient for this year compared to last year. And this is the same trend we could see throughout all of our different races at school, except our white students, where it tends to drop almost to about 20%. It's not a major drop, but it is still a drop. One thing we need to look at that might be able to tell us a clearer picture is the actual number of students that fit these demographics. We could see a drop in the white population because that is the majority at the school. So there are a lot more of them, which could show why there is that drop. But at the same time, that we see this rise in the minority students who are stereotyped as doing bad on these, actually improving their scores, which is a great positive. Likewise with our ELL population. Our English language learners have about doubled their score from 2015 to 2016. They are still well below the mark that the Gen Ed students are, but this is still a great celebration. Again, it would be helpful to know the exact number of students at the school, because this growth, if it's only for maybe one or two kids, this is excellent. This is phenomenal. So it would be much more helpful if we could get those numbers. Same with our students for disabilities. It's a little concerning that our special ed population have seemed to stagnate from 2015 to 2016 with no growth whatsoever. That is a little concerning, and I think what we need to do is talk with our special ed teachers to see where this stagnation is coming from. Is it something that they need in the class? Maybe there's something those teachers need to help with those reading scores, or maybe it's something with the students and the students are struggling with their curriculum. So this would be something it would be helpful to call in those special ed teachers so you have a better idea of exactly what the problem is for them. But at the same time, while it is stagnant and that isn't good, it hasn't dropped, which in this case is a positive. You know, our special ed students, they're staying where they're at, which we want them to grow, but we also don't want them to drop, which they haven't. So that is one positive we can take out of this. So I would recommend, especially with those gaps, meeting with our special ed teachers to see what we can do to help them and what they are seeing in their classroom as those gaps and areas of concern. When it comes to the 5th and 6th grade, I would suggest that we put into place, and not just for 5th and 6th grade, but school-wide, a PLC program so that we can have this professional learning community that allows our 5th grade teachers to work and plan together, 6th grade to work and plan together, so that they can all be on the same page and sharing best practices with one another. This would also allow for some vertical articulation between the grade levels. So the 4th grade teachers could say what's worked for them and pass that on to the 5th grade teachers. And 5th can pass it up to 6th grade. This way that we're all constantly working and striving to get our students the best possible support they can have. When it comes to it, we have to check the curriculum to see if there's some kind of disconnect there. But what we can do to help our students in the meantime while we analyze the curriculum is to put into place for our units in reading common assessments or SMART goals that they can monitor and track themselves. So this could be a weekly SMART goal based on this major topic that we know will be on AZ Merit, like nonfiction or poetry. And every week they take a SMART goal test to measure their understanding of the topic. They will set a goal for themselves, maybe 70 to start off with, maybe 60%. They will score 60% or better on this SMART goal. They will track their progress. And every time they meet that goal, we could celebrate their success by having a star with their name on it in an area that says, I met my SMART goal. And if they continue to do this up to 100%, not only will they get those stars, but they could get other recognition, such as having lunch with the principal. Or since our school is neighboring a convenience store, walk over to the convenience store with the principal one day where they will buy them a soda or a little bag of chips to celebrate their success. Another thing I've seen done at other schools is if they're taking these SMART goal tests and they are passing them with 100% in several different subject areas, they get a special shirt from the office. So they'll get one with the school color and the school name on it. And that's another way we can celebrate the success, and other students can see that success and kind of motivates those students like, hey, I want that too. Other things we can do to kind of help close this gap would be to evaluate the programs we use and what our best practices are. We may need to reevaluate what we're doing in the classroom. Maybe even start to look at other programs to use, such as Achieve 3000. This is a great tool for helping the kids read and work on their lexile and their vocabulary, and it self-levels for the students. So they will take a test, it will set their lexile for them, and as they read and work on articles, they will increase their reading fluency, their vocabulary, their critical thinking skills, all of which are necessary on AZ Merit. We will analyze these changes, especially with the SMART goals. We can analyze them weekly. We'll be able to track the students' progress. Monthly, or by the end of each unit, we can have a end of the unit post-assessment to see the growth that the students made. It will take some time to achieve all of this. So I believe our first half of the year will be data collection and analysis, so that by Christmas break, we can really take the time to look at that data to determine if these interventions we are putting in place are really helping the students, or if we need to change our focus and start to look into other things for the second half of the year. But this is not something that can happen instantly. We're not going to see changes in a couple weeks or a couple months. Change does take time. And so I think if we have our teachers working together and monitoring, having the kids monitor their goals themselves, we will start to see that growth, which is what we want. Ideally, we don't want to see these gaps. We want to see all our kids, not just half of them, at proficient or highly proficient. We want to see those partially proficient and minimally proficient students move up categories. So we have less minimally proficient moving to partially proficient, and the partially proficient moving up to proficient. The data does show that that does happen in some areas, but what would be ideal is to actually see their scores and see if, this student fell into partially proficient by one question or two questions. So we can really get an idea about these bubble kids that will really benefit from our interventions and push them ahead. These are my thoughts on what we can do for the data. I appreciate your time and thank you for this opportunity.